A few years ago, I was on the downside of a startup that had never really taken off. We had raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, spent it all with no real return. At the end of that, I was emotionally, physically, and financially tapped out. And at home, I had a very loving and supportive wife and 4 kids, but I was the sole income, and nothing was coming in. So to say the stress that I was putting myself was debilitating is really underselling it. It was pretty bad, and that stress was starting to show itself physically. Not the only, but the most significant way stress was manifesting itself in fun new ways was with panic attacks. Now, hopefully that's not something you've experienced, but if it is, you know, the tightness in your chest, the spin in your mind, it's almost like a straitjacket. And for someone who thought they did really well with stress, this was all pretty shocking. And as that business continued to fail, I had more opportunities to feel those pre-panic attack feelings. So on one particular day, I started to feel that tension build. I thought I should stop for the day, take a hot shower, and just try and relax. So I did. Got in the shower, took a deep breath, and the water went ice cold. Not what I was expecting. Now, the normal thing to do, just to step out of the water, I didn't do that. I just stayed there. As the minutes passed by, eventually that water went back to the normal temperature, and something happened in that moment. In that instant, when the water changed, I had an incredible sense of peace. I was still totally aware of the failing business, the money, the bills, all of that. It wasn't that it didn't matter, it just didn't have the same weight. It didn't have the same emotional tie. Now, much later, I'd find out that cold water is a hack that people that experience panic attacks oftentimes use. Right? They'll jump into a pool or have a cold shower. Not hot shower, but a cold shower. It's the cold water that releases a stress hormone called norepinephrine. And combined with the onset of the panic attack, I likely had a spike of norepinephrine that gave me a very welcome sense of perspective and rest. I was very thankful for that cold water. It became a turning point. At the time, I was still working with patients. As I continued to talk with them, I started to recognize their stress. I started to see the similarities in the debilitating stress that I just experienced. And I started to research that. I started to look into how that stress impacted, it actually was exhibited physically, and how it impacted surgery. I started reading studies and talking to doctors, MAs, PAs, physical therapists, spiritual guides, and researchers, both here and overseas. What became clear is that what you think matters. What you think will change your entire experience and will even change the outcome of your surgery. Now, when we talk about a surgery, we often think about the treatment. But there's other aspect of healing. And the treatment isn't necessarily healing. The technique and the technology, the precision of our treatments have continued to skyrocket. But when we talk about healing, we can't just talk about the treatment. We have to talk about all the aspects the patient faces in order to heal. Stress, anxiety, depression, social structures, just to name a few. Let me give you an example. A total joint surgery used to be reserved for the most extreme cases. The patients whose pain was so intense they were confined to a wheelchair. That was the typical patient just 40 years ago. Today, a patient arrives in the morning, they have surgery, and they're in rehab by the afternoon. It's routine. These are incredibly complex surgeries, very invasive, that demand a high degree of precision. The details matter. And the technology, the techniques have gotten to be near perfect. Over the last 10 years, for total hip and total knee, the success rate is about 95%. That means that the vast majority of these surgeries are technically perfect. And so you would assume that if you have a perfect surgery, you'd have a perfect outcome, right? You have a perfect satisfaction score. But that's not what you find. What you find is that up to 30% of those same patients are actually dissatisfied with their surgery. So how do you have a surgery that's near perfect, but almost a third of those patients say, I'm not sure if I should have done it? As I was learning about this, getting into the research, several modalities came up that had a very positive impact on healing. There's many, but the top 4 seem to be visualization, meditation, social structures, and self-talk. First, visualization. This is my favorite because of a study that I refer to as the Pinky study. Because researchers broke participants up into 3 groups and they measured pinky strength. The first group was the control and they didn't do anything. The second group, they were told to exercise their pinkies for 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 12 weeks. The third group, they were instructed to just think about working out their pinkies for 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 12 weeks. Now, if that's your idea of working out, I've got some encouraging news for you. The first group, of course, nothing happened, right? The second group that aggressively worked out their pinkies, they of course got stronger, right? They got 53% stronger. But the third group, which is the third group, they got stronger too. They got 35% stronger based on thought. Now, researchers thought this could be because of increased signal pathways or increased signal. Either way, what it shows is that a thought can change your body, and that's the power of visualization. To meditation, I think the benefits of meditation with the decreased stress, decreased anxiety, these have all been pretty well established for meditation. What I think is much more interesting and lesser known is that meditation can actually change the state of your body. You might be familiar with the Tibetan monks that practice Tummo. In 1981, a Harvard study showed that these monks were able to raise their body temperature enough to dry a wet sheet that had been placed over them with just meditation. Now, steaming meditating monks is impressive, but I think it's probably more important to us is that regular meditation in recent research has been shown to speed up wound healing. And that actually adds to a growing body of research showing that your state of mind has a profound impact on your body's ability to heal and the speed at which it can do it. Number 3, social structures. That proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Totally plays out in the scientific literature, as well as our collective wisdom. In a hero's journey or a patient's journey, your allies or your friends and family are identified right before entering the innermost cave. And for a patient, on the patient's journey, that time is right before recovery and rehab. A patient with that social structure in place, they'll decrease their stay in the hospital, they'll decrease their medication use, their opiate use, and they'll decrease rehab. Likewise, a patient without that social structure in place, high rates of depression and decreased function. Number 4, self-talk. Ever since the 1984 Olympics, when the Russian athletes had started incorporating positive self-talk into their training, the research on this has really exploded. And the research is really interesting because it shows enhanced performance, but it's very broad. Right? What I mean by that is that there's one research study that shows increased learning capacity. There's another research study that shows increased balance. Another one with increased endurance. Another study, of course, that shows decreased rehab time based on positive self-talk. In general, self-talk applies to any area where your mindset impacts performance, which is everything, right? Because you'll do better if you believe you can do it. Self-talk doesn't just indicate that belief, it's a way to program it. And that's useful because what you believe dictates performance. Now, as I was learning all about these different modalities, I asked a friend if she knew someone who did meditation specifically for surgery. She said I should read a book called Prepare for Surgery, Heal Faster by Peggy Huddleston. And I did. And afterward I talked to her, and I was shocked to find out that she'd been incorporating all these techniques into a program for decades. Not only that, but she's had some of the top doctors in the country do studies on her program to show how effective it is. Her program is proven to reduce anxiety, reduce opiate use, improve sleep, and heal faster. All of the issues that a depressed patient going into surgery faces are addressed with that program. My son's familiar. She has 5 steps. The first is visualization. The second is guided relaxation. The third is friends and family. The fourth is healing statements. And the fifth is really interesting. It's healing statements with your surgical team as you go under anesthesia. That program, those 5 steps, have been used effectively in everything from total joint surgeries to cancer treatment. What this entire journey and this process has taught me, and the idea that's worth spreading, is that what you think matters. What you think will change your entire experience, and will even change the outcome of your surgery. Now, it is possible that you have a less than ideal surgery. But even then, where you ultimately end up is up to you. Hopefully that's encouraging, because you're an active participant in shaping and creating that world. I don't often quote Henry Ford, but I'll close with this, because he was right when he said, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're probably right. Thank you.